Hi everyone, it's Bessi from The Self-Led Artist, and I had a really interesting conversation earlier today with Mel, aka Lissa Blu, an artist, a producer, an engineer for the Creative Life Archive. The research that I'm doing is part of my methodology building as part of The Self-Led Artist. So this is the conversation. I hope you enjoy it and get a lot out of it. Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting conversation today because obviously you have an artistic background the same as me, and what you've done especially recently is you and correct me if I'm wrong, but you've kind of leaned more towards getting the stability and the work in that's adjacent to music with I'm assuming the potential when things feel more steady, and that's building to then return more to that to the art. I don't know if that's your plan, but yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that, where you're at the moment, and also what originally drew you into making art and being creative in the first place.
Okay, yeah. So I
Big
mean, I
questions.
guess like what you were saying originally, like I feel like yeah, I've kind of gone down like the kind of production engineering route alongside like my artist stuff because I always felt like I kind of have had a vision of kind of what I wanted to create, and it was like I kind of wanted to bring that to life myself. And I think like from
Yeah.
doing the BA at Warsaw, I just felt like post that I was like I kind of would really like to do engineering because I kind of had that like spark during that kind of period where I was like actually I quite enjoy this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it kind of derived from like both of those kind of things, I guess, just like an actual genuine interest in it and also like wanting to do things myself.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and then like for me actually starting to create, it was again during uni, and it was just for the fact that I had to create music for like assessments and stuff. It wasn't that I was like naturally like a songwriter from like a
That's so
young age or
interesting.
anything. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
I
You seem
actually
so
always
creative and your music is incredible. So yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I always actually like, funnily enough, I did always used to enjoy like writing like stories and stuff when I was younger.
yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, so it was more from like that. I wouldn't actually say that I was naturally like, yeah, I don't know, like I can't write like Joni Mitchell kind of thing. But it's like,
But
but
you
like,
were a storyteller, like, with a lot of
yeah.
the music that I've heard from you, there is a natural storytelling ability, but also what you have the knack for as well is the seeing a few steps ahead and the kind of business side of it as well, and like really seeing how maybe you don't see yourself that way, but like the you've got as I'm sure you've heard in previous jobs, like your organizational skill and that kind of stuff is really good, which is something that is really needed as an artist. You need to have that balance of structure and chaos.
Yeah, yeah, and I struggle with that like every day anyway. So I mean, I think it's so hard being a creative to like kind of juggle both of those sides of your brain because it's like, yeah, one minute you're like, oh, I just want to sit down and create, but then there's the organizational side, and it's like, oh shit, but I've got like a mix I need to finish, or I've got like vocals I need to edit, or I've got a session at 2 that I need to be ready for, and it's like you kind of need to like find that time where you can
And
kind of
find
thing, I
the
guess.
structure of your days so it's
Yeah.
coming. And what I've realized and what I believe after like talking to different artists is that there are at least five pillars of creative identity being a big one, regulation day to day, artistry, direction, and sustainability. And if those five are kind of topped up over the course of a creative life, you're okay. But you have to anchor yourself with yeah, essentially what I'm trying to build is a system that is adaptive to the person, because artists are not, if I just say this is a structure, follow it, most artists are going to say fuck off and like, rebel against that structure. So it's finding something for artists that sits in the middle. So that's really interesting. Okay. Nice. Okay, I've got a few more questions that I'm going to run through. Nowadays, obviously, from a creative perspective and also with your work, what does your day look like right now on a day-to-day basis? And is it different every day?
Yeah, it's quite different. I mean, I do feel like I definitely have more structure now than I did. And I think, like, because past South Lanes kind of
Yeah,
shuttling, it
yeah.
was I was very like, I don't really know what this next period of my life is going to be like, because I was still very much building kind of, and I still am kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, like from having the studio stuff kind of at Waterbear, and now obviously like working at Dome and stuff, doing technician stuff there, kind of that like toss up between kind of studio and live stuff. I'm kind of like quite busy with that stuff, but I also have my freelance stuff that where I get to work with really cool artists myself and do
What's
like
your,
cool
tell me
sessions.
about your free, yeah, tell me about your freelance stuff and what you've been up to there.
Yeah, so well, I'm currently like in the middle of like a few different projects that I'm producing mainly with other artists. And like I always like to take the approach kind of that you have, and you very much inspired me for it, where it was very like a collaborative thing. Like I don't really like to be like, okay, so this is how
This
I
is the vibe.
produce. Yeah,
Yes.
this is it kind of thing. Yeah, because I have had that before with like other producers, obviously not you, but like where like you don't really feel like you get a say, and I just feel like when you're an artist, you kind of want to go into a session and be like, this is my song. I've written this, I've made this. I feel like I should have as much say in it as the producer does, kind of thing.
And it also, yeah, like it completely baffles me. And I think it is connected to the producer and their own vision of what they want and their ego and whatever. But the artist is the one that's going to be releasing the song. So if the artist gives you references and they've got an idea for what comes out of the speakers, you're the facilitator vessel to get that to happen. And
Yeah.
it just baffles me that anyone would feel differently.
Yeah, I know. I think, like you said, though, I think it's kind of like yeah, maybe like an ego thing. I also feel like as well, some producers are very like known for their sound kind of thing,
That's
which is
true.
really cool.
That's true.
And I do feel like that's the kind of route that I would like to go down at some
Yeah.
point. But I feel like, yeah, really, yeah, like you were saying, you're kind of there to facilitate rather than it being like like I produce, this is what I produce kind of thing.
That's true. And actually, that reminds me, like, that quite a few artists that I worked with, like last year, there is this thread that kind of lives across most of the songs, which is just my essence. Like the same with you, with when you produce for an artist. I'm sure there's certain bits that just come through that are you, but I
Yeah.
guess it's like finding that balance of you-ness and then the artist. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So have you got any uh artists that you're producing for right now in this moment?
Yeah, no, I do. I'm currently in the middle of an EP that I started, actually was my first proper production client actually, and
Yay.
we're still in the middle of doing the EP like about a year and a half later or something, but
Yeah,
it's
it
like
do
that
be
kind of
like that.
process. Yeah, it just kind of takes a while. But yeah, and we're in the middle of that, and I'm also technically in the middle of an album as well, but that's kind of on hold for now with an artist. And yeah, and then I've kind of just got like a few kind of singles dotted around with different artists as well, which is like really cool. And it's all like really nice because I feel like none of them are kind of the same, which then makes it really cool and kind of quite exciting for me because I get to dive into completely different worlds kind of each session, but it's
Big
all still within my realm of stuff that I enjoy producing kind of thing.
What kind of genres are you exploring? What kind of,
So yeah, I mean, yeah, like R&B,
yeah.
obviously, like that's kind of my realm
Mm. Mhm.
entirely. Yeah, and then it's kind of gone more down like Olivia Dean-esque, obviously, where like a lot of people are very influenced by Olivia Dean.
Very.
It's kind of going down that kind of route. Also, kind of gone down a bit of like a kind of 80s kind of synth-esque route, which is
Ooh.
really cool. And I love working with synths and like doing those
Yes.
things. Yeah, and also like maybe a little bit of like house and stuff, I'd say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so more electronic. This is exactly it.
Yeah.
When you explore like three or four different genres at a time, you're expanding your knowledge and your ability as a producer. So you can have any type of artist come in, your portfolio is getting bigger.
Yeah.
It's a really good place to be. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank
I
you.
always, whenever I'm hearing about your updates, I just feel like a supportive uncle.
Oh, love that.
Listen,
Hell yeah.
Bella's smashing it. Okay. Okay, cool. So, I mean, this is an interesting one, and I guess this I'm just going to ask it and see how you feel. How clear do you feel about who you are as an artist right now, as a creator? And has that changed? Has that clarity changed over time?
Yes, it definitely has. I feel like I'm really starting to feel like I'm refining my sound a lot more now. I feel like I'm like, yeah, like because at the moment I'm very inspired by kind of 2000s 90s kind of R&B, and that's kind of where I feel like I just really naturally kind of sit what I really love producing, and that's kind of like what I was saying about like earlier with like your own sound as a producer. I feel like that's kind of the route I can see myself kind of going down. um yeah, so that's kind of where I feel like I'm naturally gravitating more towards now. But like with like a kind of whimsy kind of
Mm-hmm.
spin to it, I guess. Yeah, like
Minnie Riperton?
yeah, yeah, little bit.
Go on,
Um,
tell me, is there any other artist influences?
yeah, I mean, like very much like Brandy, like that kind of style,
Oh,
and also yeah, and also like
yeah.
I guess like I'm always really inspired by like Ariana Grande as well, but like more of like the thank you next kind of
Yeah.
realm and like positions and that kind of thing. And then I also listen to a lot of B. I don't know if you know B. He's really really cool. But yeah,
B-E-E.
it's like three. It's like a three and then an EE. Yeah, but it's spelled like well,
I'll
yeah, it's
check
spelled
that out.
like that, but it's pronounced B basically.
Uh,
But yeah, very inspired by him. But I also listen to a lot of like the Neptunes and Dark Child and Timberland. So like I'm very much in that kind of world, I'd
That's
say.
a lovely combo, and like it's constantly evolving, isn't it? And the fact that you know that, and that's the music that really lights you up, like that's a really good place to start from as an artist for anything you do in the future. But
Mm.
production wise, you can say this is my world. You can come and join me here, and there might be certain genres. Like for me, I've always said like heavy rock. I can give it a go, and I did like last uh with Millie. Do you remember the session we did with Millie? It was quite
Yeah,
heavy
yeah,
rock.
yeah,
So there's certain
yeah.
things that you can kind of push yourself, but you're kind of finding that refined sound. Okay, I'm gonna scroll through a couple more. These are really useful. Um, when it comes to your creation, so you as an artist, no one else, when you're creating music for yourself, in the past or now, what does that creative practice look like when it's working well, if you've got a creative practice, and what usually disrupts that? And a few artists I've spoken to have just been like, capitalism disrupts that. But yeah, tell me your answer there.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, I guess the thing that probably disrupts it is like when I feel really like my life is just a bit chaotic and a bit like there's a lot going on. I would like obviously capitalism, but probably that as well, where I just feel like, yeah,
Mm,
I feel like when I create, the best way that I create is when I'm like super calm, and if anything, I'm probably not really doing much. Like to me,
yeah,
I always come up with the best stuff when I'm on the bus on the way home from
yeah.
work. Like I don't know why, but like that is where I always like, I don't know, I just come up with something in my brain whilst I'm kind of listening to like a song or something, and then I'll be like, oh shit, wait, hold on, and then I like write it down in my notes kind of thing. Um,
So it comes from a sense of regulation. Like it comes from like you finished your day, your body's like relaxing and you're kind of in a vibe, and that's when you feel almost like your body's like taking an exhale
mm.
or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like having that calm allows your brain to be like so much more creative because you're not like really thinking about anything else. So your creative brain can naturally then, I feel, just kind of take over and then be
Oh,
like,
I've heard that from a lot
oh,
of
this is
artists.
cool. Yeah.
do you ever create when you're like you're emotionally heightened and you're feeling like stressed or like really sad, or like have you ever created from that heightened emotional place before?
Um, I guess so, but I wouldn't say like any of it's very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And I
fair.
think, and for like kind of my kind of genre as
Yes,
well, I
yeah.
think like, because obviously it's all very like, I don't know, like that kind of,
It's peaceful and
yeah,
serene, and it kind of needs that energy almost, right? Yeah.
yeah, no, exactly. And I think
Yeah.
that's why, like, because even like in a way, it's funny because like I write about love, even though like I'm not in love, but I think it's that thing of like in my brain, I'm just like so calm that I can kind of allow myself to go to those kind of places where like it's kind of like a like reading a fantasy book kind of thing. You feel like you're kind of going into that other world, and it's like, okay, well, I'm like cosplaying as this girl that's like in love with this guy, and I can write about it, and
Yeah.
it can be like that kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Completely, you're
So I think,
exploring
yeah,
that. That the,
yeah.
the writer in you kind of has the time to put. Do you ever, when you're writing lyrics, do you do like pen to pad or do you type it?
I just type it on my notes, but I
Um,
did used to write when I first started because I actually found it easier. But now I actually prefer, because I can just change things so much quicker on my, and also like, yeah, when I'm out, like I don't necessarily have like a pen and pad with me to be able to like write it, so I just do it on my notes and then I voice memo it. I have so many voice memos, it's like ridiculous. It makes my phone so slow, like
I feel you. And do there's some of the voice notes that they're just like a humming for like 5 seconds, and you're
yeah,
like, wait, what is that? And then
yeah.
it makes zero sense
Yeah,
to anyone else. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the life of an artist, definitely. But I
yeah.
find that so interesting. Like for your genre, there is a state of relaxation, and when you're in that play state, because of the genre you create in, that really works for you, and it makes sense. Whereas with other artists, and even like a few songs, like a experience I had last year, there was this 2 months of intense creativity for me because it was getting over, something highly emotional. And in those moments, I do find that if I feel dysregulated, I go to that creative space and it helps bring me back to a kind of calm, regulated place. Whereas some people don't create like that. I just find it fascinating how different artists approach creativity differently.
Yeah, definitely. I get that. I also feel like as well, like it depends what kind of, yeah, kind of genres you're in, because to me, I kind of feel like, like Ray, I can imagine that Ray probably writes in a really interesting way, but because probably to her, she has to really feel it because that's the kind of music that she creates. Whereas, like, I guess for my kind of music, it's more like for me, it's my way of kind of escaping kind of thing, if you know what I mean. So
And
it's like a
yeah.
different way of kind of like
Mm,
she's really trying to like sort out her
right.
feelings
Yeah.
kind of thing. Whereas I'm trying to be like let me take myself somewhere. So I do like I feel something kind of thing.
Wow,
Great,
that's
I guess.
such an interesting thing to that's such an interesting way of looking at it. Completely. And different people will have different ways of doing it. But yeah, some people use it to kind of organize their feelings, and some people do it to allow them to access their feelings. Wow.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Took
totally.
me a while. Took me a while to click there. It's not entirely on today. I love that. What kind of okay, what kind of support structures exist in your creative life right now? When I say creative life, this also includes the work that you're doing adjacent to your own artistry, like producing and tech and all of that stuff. So, what I mean by that is the support structures that should exist for creative people are things like mentors, collaborators, community. Do you feel as though you have support structures around you, or do you kind of mostly feel like you're flying solo?
I think I definitely have some support, and I feel like
Right.
I have like support in some areas, which is great. But I also feel like I kind of now don't necessarily have support in some areas that I would really like support in, and that's mainly probably like um, mentorship, but like from like a production standpoint and
Yeah,
stuff, like that kind of side of it,
we can
because
talk about
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like obviously I'm still very like early on in my career. So I feel like, and whilst I'm still building stuff, but starting to feel more like I'm refining what I'm kind of doing, I still feel like I personally really like having another person that is a producer, like understand kind of where I'm trying to come from, and
Yes.
like be able to help me kind of be like, I don't know, like, oh,
Make
I would
that
maybe put
happen.
this there, or maybe like, I don't know, just like
Yeah.
from that kind of perspective. But in terms of like other stuff like career opportunities and stuff, I'm definitely very like supported with that side of it, which is
Right.
really nice. Yeah, and that's like taken a while to kind of build that, I'd say. But
Yeah, for sure. And like with Waterbear, like, that they are very, very supportive, and the Dome, like, very supportive institutions. And
mm,
I think, um, yeah, that I'm really happy to hear that, because certain artists do feel as though if they're just focusing on their own creativity and a bit of production, they're kind of lost in terms of
mm,
support and direction. So the fact you've got that is great, and it's so fascinating talking to different artists, because you're having such different experiences, but there are
mm.
still some common threads coming through. Okay, just a couple more questions. I so appreciate this.
Okay.
Um,
Also, can I just say as well, like big shout out to you because you really helped me with my production early on, and also to Sam because Sam was also amazing too. But you
yeah.
both like helped me massively.
Oh, big ups. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, and yeah, the South Lanes in general, I think for a lot of us, even with me with coming in with a few more years experience, it still felt like a home, and I grew, and as did you, like, I grew so much in those walls with what I did. It felt like this pressure cooker that I was enjoying,
Yeah,
up until the point I think we were on like the final mix of one of your tracks, and I was like, dude, I think I need to go to hospital. But that was like full on.
yeah,
I've spoken
yeah.
about it in a previous podcast episode, actually, and that's for me when I cut out vaping, coffee, everything.
Mm.
um but that sustainability part, I actually noticed with you, you don't you're not someone, you're not out clubbing every night or going. You're quite steady in that sense. You get a good solid sleep. You
I
look
try my
after
best to. I mean, I stay up probably like reading like fantasy books, so
yeah.
that's where I am at night most of the time anyway, unless I'm out with a friend or friends or whatever. But yeah,
But it's not
all
a
working.
screen, which is good. And you're, yeah, yeah. Just I noticed that there is, with some artists, and myself included, that chaos 50%
Mm,
can rise into the 60-70% if we're not careful. And I'm trying over the last few years for it to be, especially for me, because I have such hyper focus
mm,
loops where I get really stuck on something. I need to make
mm,
sure I'm having the same going to bed time, like the really basic shit,
mm.
because my head is so busy, but we all have different ways of operating. Um, okay. Cool. Final question. I feel like you've got a good answer for this, because I kind of feel like you're consistently thinking about your direction. But do you feel like you're building towards something long term with your work in general? Does that look like for you? And is there any areas that you feel can make that difficult? I just asked
Yeah,
them.
I think yeah, I am definitely building towards having a career in music like long term because that's kind of what I've always wanted. And I think like I was very like when I started out doing my BA, I was very like I want to go into this and come out of it being like a more well-rounded creative because I literally just went in as a vocalist and then came out kind of with wanting to do engineering, production,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff,
yeah.
which is really cool. And I feel like it's then since then just been like a slow build to like just making that more of a full-time kind of thing. But it's still very portfolio because it's obviously it's all from like
Mm.
different places and stuff. But I feel like yeah, long term, like I really just want to be like producing and like working in a studio environment because I love working in the studio and recording. And also like yeah doing more like I've realized recently as well that it's kind of good to kind of pivot into kind of certain things that you're really good at, and I kind of realized that I'm good like being a vocalist, so I should go into vocal production. So it's like that kind of thing. And I think it's me realizing that yeah, sometimes it's like knowing what your strengths are and like not necessarily being great at being like an all-rounder of everything, because there's certain things in it that I'm very like, I know that I'm not going to sit there and mix like guitars for
Yeah.
like hours on end because I
Yeah.
just don't find it interesting.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
Totally.
vocal editing and like doing that kind of side of it, vocal production, like creating a full track from like start to finish, like recording drums, whatever, like that side of it. I love doing that. So I think it's like kind of realizing where I'm really good and kind of getting better at that. So then I become like really good. And then people be like, yeah, I'll go to her kind of thing. Yeah.
And then you're enjoying the process the entire time. And the
Yeah.
great thing with what you've said, like you ideally a career in music is where you're headed, and I have no doubt that it's already happening for you. But all of these little bits that you're doing now, like even with the tech and you it may not even really you may not even be able to see the full picture now, but you'll look back in like 5 years or 10 years and be like, that was all so formative of your ability to do what you do now. Like just little moments, you'll be in a session in 10 years and be like, oh, that thing that happened when I was teching then, like you kind of have you're consistently building your skill set, like it's all connected. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize for a really long time that they were all connected. I was like, God, I feel like I'm fragmented. But it's all building your robust like skill set. And yeah,
Yeah.
don't EQ guitars for trust me, I've tried to do those things. I'm not I know for 100% from a real nitty-gritty engineer perspective, like patch bays all day, it's not my strength. The creative production side will always be more my strength. So it's just kind of knowing what your skills are. But
Yeah,
yes.
definitely. And I think it's like not being scared to kind of admit that as well, because I feel like you like, like I don't know about you, but
I've got it all. I can do it all.
yeah, yeah, no,
That's
and I feel
great.
like there's a lot of producers and engineers that are like that and are
Yeah.
very like, I can do everything and I'm really good at everything and stuff. And it's like, cool, but like, I
What do
kind of
you
know,
enjoy?
yeah, yeah, no, totally. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be the kind of producer that people come to and they're like, oh, yeah, she can kind of do everything okay. I'd much prefer someone to come to me being like, I know you're really good at X, so I'm going to come to you for that because I know you're great at it, kind of thing.
You're the person for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And I've like, especially like vocals and stuff, I've realized that's the one bit that I enjoy more than anything, I feel like in like the whole thing because
Vocals.
yeah, because like being a vocalist,
Of
I
course.
kind of, like I just have like a real thing for like melodies and like harmony stacking and like that kind of element of stuff. Like that's kind of where I'm really like, I don't know, just where I'm really comfortable and really enjoy doing it. But yeah, so I feel like it's kind of yeah, really like recognizing that and then just being like, it's okay to be like, this is what I'm good at. And if you think about it, like when you look at the credits of like really big songs, you don't see like one person has done like the production, the mixing, the mastering. They're all different people, but because they're all specialists and all great at what they do.
100%, especially, and if you're aiming for those bigger projects and you've got your eyes on those projects, then absolutely it goes from just paying a small budget to one person to it being split across. And
Mm.
those are the projects that are really exciting for your career.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one and a half more questions.
Yeah,
So
no, totally go for it.
this is this can open yourself up in terms of imagining, I guess, but if your creative life and your life were fully aligned, and I mean you could choose, like it's not about money for a second, like fully aligned, your what would it look like day by day?
Oh, that's really hard. I feel like, well, it's not really. I probably would, I probably have my own studio that is like, like literally like a hybrid of like Studio 6 and Studio 1. That would be like
Oh,
my dream. That
yeah.
would be like yeah. And like I feel like yeah, this is a thing that I would really love to be able to do long term is to have my own studio, but then to also like hire mainly women to then be in the space as like engineers and stuff. And I feel like yeah, if I could like from a, yeah, kind of me being able to be creative 100% of the time, I would probably be doing like production and recording full time in a studio that is like my own studio that I love being in.
I mean, I totally
So
that why not? Let's
yeah.
go. Like that's absolutely possible in the future, and for it to be a mostly women's space is a
Mm.
beautiful idea too. Great. Okay, so it would be mostly and in terms of your own artistry in that, I suppose if you were running the studio, it would probably be a case of you'd be producing for certain artists and then you'll be inspired and then you'd be working on your own stuff and it would just be creative, creative, creative the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it would definitely be like, I don't know, like three, four artists that come to me specifically for more of like my own
Your
production
vibe.
sound kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, kind of thing. And then I'm like good with my own stuff and I'm like doing well with that. I guess that would kind of be where like that would be the dream territory. Yeah, I'd
Well,
say.
you're speaking it into existence.
I am. I'm manifesting.
I'll see you in 2030 and I'll be ready to roll. Um,
Yeah.
amazing. So say if that's your ultimate, that's something that's your ultimate, what do you feel you need most right now in order to build the creative life you want? And the immediate
Money.
answer is money. Dollar bills.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So financially, big one. And is there any other resources in order to build to get to that studio spot in your mind,
Mm.
aside from finances? Is there anything else that you would need to get there? Time, I guess.
Yeah, experience as well. I think
Yeah,
that's like a massive thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Good point.
because something I always feel as well, just as like a separate thing, is
Yeah,
like you kind of look at other engineers or producers and you're like, oh my God, they're like so much better than me and they know all these things and whatever. But really it just comes down to experience. It's just that they've had longer in the industry, been in more sessions, been in more situations where they've had to like
think on their feet and do the
yeah, and like
thing.
sort out some issues or whatever. Like they just know because they've experienced it, kind of thing. So I feel like yeah, for me it's like just having more experience and like having to go through like um yeah, certain situations and kind of realize that yeah, like you don't know everything, and it's like cool, I've
Yes.
learned something new. That's really good, and you add that to your toolkit, kind of thing.
And you obviously through experience you're building a skill set, but ultimately the biggest reason for experience and like aging is self-trust, and it's
Yeah.
actually a psychological thing, because
Mm.
actually there's tons of stuff actually about a studio that I don't know, but there's an element of with your certain artists who haven't got as much experience, it's actually there is a psychological development that happens when you've gone through lots of experiences that makes you feel like, oh, I could you kind of you carry yourself in a way, it's almost like that there's more confidence there, but it's
Mm.
not even necessarily because I know more. It's like just that experience alone has
Yeah.
built some more self-trust, and I think trusting ourselves and our abilities as a creative person is like the most important thing
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, definitely. And like you were saying, like, I feel like you probably know a lot more production wise than I do. But again, like that's all down to like also again like that kind of niche thing of being like, I know that I'm really good at this and I really enjoy learning about it. So I'm going to deep dive more into that kind of stuff. And then I feel like that's kind of why I've then like really enjoyed the studio side of it, because it is
Yeah,
like
big
I
time.
really enjoy like that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then it's just like the more you do of something, obviously, the better you get. And then you do come over more confident and you do like,
Yeah,
can be like, yeah, I'm good at this, but because I've done a lot of it kind of thing. And
and
it's,
then
yeah, not,
yeah.
yeah, it's not necessarily that you know a lot more, but it's just like you were saying, it's like you have that experience.
And that's the last side note, which kind of links to what you were saying about having more women in your studio in the future, and why I'm always looking to mentor female creatives in general, is
Yeah.
because the self-trust element, if you look at kind of data, male producers will come in with less experience, but because they carry themselves in a particular way or say certain things, that there are more, and gender, there's lots of different reasons, but they do tend to get more opportunities even with less ability. And so for women to have these experiences in studios to be mentored correctly is so important. Um, because I've known a lot of even female artists that I've taught at Waterbed to kind of slip through the net and then be like, oh, I'm gonna step back and I'm gonna give up because of that self trust piece not being there. So that's a
Yeah.
really interesting thing as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it is a thing with women, particularly, and I've kind of noticed it as well. Even down to like when I'm doing a session, and I've had it quite a few times where someone's come in and been like, "Oh, I expected a man," and it's like that kind of thing where I just, I just feel like, yeah, for me, it's also like a thing of making more women like visible in like the kind of tech side of the industry, because I feel like there's just like not enough representation and just not enough support kind of thing. And I'm just very lucky that I was kind of given that support kind of when I was given it kind of thing. But yeah, and also like having that belief, because yeah, I've heard it again from other women that are like, oh, but like I'm just not like techie enough, or like I just don't think I'd understand things, and like even though they have like a real good grasp on certain elements, they're already like on the
Put
back foot.
themselves down.
Yeah, because they've been told probably by someone like, oh
Yeah,
well, but probably a man being
yeah.
like,
Women don't really
you're
get
just
into
not
that.
like, yeah, yeah, exactly, and they're just like, oh well, like bearing in mind as well, like in a lot of situations I've kind of been one of maybe like, I don't know, the only one, or maybe like a few of like women techs
Yeah,
in like teams kind of thing. And it's that thing of like, like the more women that are like visible, the more women will want to be involved and like do naturally have that, like, that ear to be able to mix or master or whatever. But it's just them having that opportunity.
completely. And them seeing
Yeah.
it around them, that representation is so important. And I'm seeing it more and more. Yeah, I really appreciate talking to you today about all of these wonderful things.
Yeah,
And
I
it's going
love
to
talking
be,
about it with you as well. It's
yeah,
lovely.
it's really, really useful for me. And hopefully, long term, I'm going to try and make a difference within artist communities with this research. It's probably going to take me a really long time, but I'm a massive nerd, so I'm sure it'll be very enjoyable.